Hey there, Blerds and tech enthusiasts. Welcome back to another electrifying episode of BlerdOut. I'm your host, Terrence Southern, and today's episode promised to be nothing short of inspiring. We're joined today by Jennifer Lashley, a visionary leader who's revolutionizing STEM education in South LA throughout the power of robotics. But before we dive into our conversation, make sure you hit the like button, drop some comments, and subscribe to the BlerdOut movement.
Confidence, yeah. It really shouldn't be no arguments, cause you're now viewing the greatest of all time, saying I can't get better.
Joining us today is Jennifer Lashley, the driving force behind South LA Robotics. SoLa, an organization dedicated to empowering youth through robotics education. Jennifer's tireless dedication to bridging the STEM gap in underserved communities has garnered widespread acclaim. Welcome to BlerdOut, Jennifer, and you brought a guest with you today, Madison Dorsey. Thank you, and welcome to BlerdOut.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us today.
So tell us a little something about yourself and your background. Where are you from, and how did you get started with SoLa?
So I'm Jennifer Lashley. I'm from Los Angeles, actually. Grew up in South LA. And my background, I'm actually an educator. I'm a longtime educator, taught in the community of Watts for 17 years, and noticed a wide gap in what was available for technology for my students versus students in other communities around LA.
Can you share with our audience the pivotal moment for you when you realized that you just had to do something about what you were seeing in the school system that you work with?
Absolutely. So I work with a lot of students who were just naturally gifted and interested in doing cool things, coding, robotics. Well, initially they didn't really know about coding and robotics, so we were bringing in all these cool projects. And in learning more about robotics and just bringing in little projects and things for them to do, I started realizing that tech is such a game changer. It was all over the news, all over the internet. You know, you can Google this or you can look on YouTube to learn about that, but nobody in our community was talking about it. So I went to school administrators, directors, and local superintendents, and I said, hey, let's get some resources over here. We need this stuff. And I got a lot of verbal support, but the actual, in bringing in new programs, it was clear that it was going to take a really long time, and the students I was working with were going to end up graduating and possibly never knowing about this.
Right, yeah.
And the pivotal moment was when I realized we're getting skipped. We're literally getting skipped over, and nobody seemed to be really fired up about it, or just not a lot of people were fired up about it. So that's when I decided, okay, we need to make this a bigger thing.
Yeah, I mean, you really spoke to a common problem across the nation, not just in South LA, that, the schools can't move fast enough to really make an impact. And like you said, by the time something got turned on, these kids have moved on, and you got to start all over again, like with a new set of kids that might not be as passionate. And we needed this group of kids to energize this next group of kids. So that's powerful. So when did SoLa Robotics start? And and if you don't mind sharing the mission and the vision for the organization?
Sure. So we started in 2019. That was our first year of incorporation. Before that, it was like community pop-ups, weekend events, and things like that. But in 2019, I decided to officially incorporate, ran a summer program that was free and open to the community. When I saw the success from that program, then I decided to go ahead and resign from the school district and take this full on. It was a awesome experience. Our students competed in a few different robotics competitions that summer. They won, they got some first place prizes, and we were actually invited to compete overseas. So that part, along with all of the interest that came with it, let me know this is probably a good decision to make. And for me personally, I love this. It's something that's really fun for me. I get to, test out robots every day and figure out more ways to bring it into communities. So that's how South LA Robotics started in 2019. The mission is for us to provide long-term, ongoing, high-quality STEM instruction to students who wouldn't otherwise have access to it.
Very good. Very good. And how many members or students do you have in the program so far?
Well, I know we've reached over 8,000 over the last 5 years.
Excellent.
For this year, I don't really know that number, actually. I should probably count and see. But what I can say is that we operate in 9 locations around LA, and some of them are community centers, tech centers, and we're also at some schools. So we have a pretty good reach, but I'm just really looking forward to when it's even further.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here because we're going to grow that reach.
Yes.
And expand the
We
mission
need
and the
to.
story for SoLa Robotics. So I'm really excited about that. So,
Very
Jen,
nice.
why South LA? I mean, you're covering a wide, area, impacting kids, underserved kids and youth, in your program. But why that area specifically? Why the Black and brown kids?
Well, so I started my teaching career in Watts, and I chose that area specifically because at the time we were part of a program that served the 10 lowest performing majority African American populated schools in LA. So that was one of the schools. And what that meant was we got a lot of extra training, the school got a lot of extra funding and things like that. I also spent part of my childhood there. I lived there. My family still does. So it was just, it was like, let me go back and serve my neighborhood, basically. Before robotics even had anything to do with it. All the kids are Black and brown. That's, who my students were. I had to rock some broken Spanish to talk to some parents, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you do when you work in Watts. So that's where we were. Now, I have 3 grown kids of my own. When they were little, I used to drive them across town to do robotics workshops or whatever kind of workshops, just fun, cool stuff. And I realized going back to work, my students don't get to go do that stuff. They're parents working 2-3 jobs, they don't have transportation, things like that. So it kind of helped me understand even more about how even though they were gifted and smart and driven and their parents want the best for them just like anybody would, it was very clear that if I didn't find a way to bring this stuff to them, that there was a possibility that they were going to get skipped over and it was going to be a lot harder for them to learn about this stuff. So I've always been about bringing those types of resources to South LA, to Watts. Also, in going to our first robotics competition, we were the only Black and brown team in the room. We were the only team from LA. And this competition happened at El Camino College. And I don't know if you know where El Camino is, but it's on Crenshaw and I think Redondo Beach Boulevard or something like that. It's basically LA. It's not far away or anything like that, but we were the only local team. And I knew when we were there that there's kids who live down the street who have no idea this is happening on this college campus today. They're the ones who should be filling up this competition in their neighborhood, and that wasn't the case. Yeah. So then I was even more like, oh, we brought back 5 teams the next year, because I just thought it was ridiculous. And it was a great experience, don't get me wrong. Everybody up in there was really friendly and we had a great time. We just weren't well represented outside of us, outside of our team that day. So those are some of the reasons why I really am about bringing the resources to South LA. When my kids were young, I could drive them over to Manhattan Beach and El Segundo and, up to Hollywood and different places and do all the cool stuff. But it wasn't in South LA. Even thinking about it right now, there's one large tech center that provides a lot of this type of thing, but there aren't a bunch of them. Yeah. And when you go to the schools, you see the difference. And you go to a school on the west side and you see the difference in the facilities and what's available to the kids. So that's part of the reason why I focus on South LA. I think we deserve the best. We deserve top-notch equipment, and why shouldn't we have access to that stuff too?
Very good. So you're not an engineer,
no.
You're not a technician, right? And this is kind of like, for me, this is how I often get involved with the school. They say we need an engineer to drive these kids, right?
Yeah.
But you have made the leap that many teachers have not been as successful with. Like, what has that been like for you to kind of say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out, and then been successful with it?
Yeah, it was scary. Okay. It was scary. I remember Steve Harvey called it on his morning show back in the day, like stepping off of a cliff. So I definitely stepped off the cliff. I had a sort of a net, wasn't really sure how that was going to go. But, and I would definitely not recommend people to do it the way that I did.
Okay.
So I feel very fortunate that it has worked out the way that it has. So I'm a, longtime educator, national board certified teacher. I coach other teachers in how students learn and how adults learn. So that's where my expertise is. I write curriculum, develop curriculum, so that's what I do. So in learning about robotics and coding and programming, that was something that initially I learned alongside my students. I said, okay, this stuff is accessible to us. We got some people who really made it possible for us to get our first teams and, some grants and things like that. I'm always very thankful for them. But when the first robot boxes came, we looked at it and we're like, okay, well, what's an ultrasonic sensor?
Right.
I didn't know. I did not know. And I remember the assistant principal at the school at the time said, well, Miss Lashley, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to read the instructions and we're going to figure it out together. So initially it was like that. After that, when I got to a position where I could hire people, they're, engineering majors, computer science majors, college students who are learning about these programs or have done robotics, have some experience in programming, so they know more than me. But we work in tandem to where I write the curriculum to kind of set the flow for the classes, and then they can bring in their expertise in how things actually work. So it's a big team effort.
Yeah, I for one know the challenge that goes into working with a group of kids, and even as a robotics engineer, it wasn't just something I just kind of walked into and like, oh, I know exactly what to do, because I'm not a teacher, right? So it's like, how do I bring my level of thinking down on a level where they understand me?
Yeah.
And so that's we had different problems, but the same challenge, nevertheless. And I remember like we only had one computer, one me. And 20 kids, and we were still in one robot, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you get 20 kids to work on robots?
That was
So because
us.
your program is like focused on the underserved community and the STEM, how are you working with the disparities of, making an impact? Like, what's that experience been like for you?
Sure. So when we started off, we had one iPad, a class of 20 kids. We had something called an Elma, which is a document camera, and that was all the technology in the room. So just thinking back on that is pretty crazy. Now we focus on smaller size robots where they're more affordable. They're between $100 and $200 a piece. So through grant funding, we can afford to have a one-to-one robotics program where each kid gets to work with their own robot. So a lot of the robots that we previously used in competition, like Vex Robotics and things like that, the robots are costing $500, dollars on the low end,
Right.
and it's a lot more expensive to have a lot of kids involved in that kind of program. But with ours, it's more focused on lower cost, smaller robots, more introductory level, and it's really more about the kids learning the coding. But that's how we address disparity, by making more materials available for more students and getting them that basic coding knowledge.
All right. So why robotics?
It's fun. Robots are fun, right?
Robots are fun?
Yeah. I mean, I never start the class off by telling the kids, okay, you're going to learn to program.
Right.
'Cause first of all, they probably won't know what I'm talking about.
Correct.
But they see the robot and their eyes light up and they go, Miss Jen, I get to make it move?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Before the
big.
end of this class, you not only are you going to build it, but you're going to program it to do a lot more than move.
That's right.
So it's the robots are the it's like the buy-in or the the teaser to get them into the coding and the programming.
That's beautiful. I mean, you've done a great job. Everything you're speaking to, like, that's exactly how it works. I know when I got into robotics, in my career, that is, the first time I programmed the robot, like, I got so excited, like a kid
Yes.
would. Like, I was in college, and I'm like, oh, this is exciting. Like, so it moves, and this
Yeah.
thing builds things.
Yes.
And so that's what's kept me connected to that. Because you're right, like, going into just saying coding, right, it's like, all right, I'm going to write a code, and then what, right? But
Right.
to see something, like, I wrote a code, and now it moves. Like, it did what I told it to do. Like, all right, well, let me tell it to do something else. Let me tell it to
Yes.
do something else. So that's very exciting for the kids. So for you, did you have to do the teaching how to code, or did were the
Yes.
kids teaching you?
I actually did teach them how to code.
Okay.
When we first started, the hour of code was brand new. It was the first year, and I remember we were in that classroom with the one iPad. I had my laptop, so I projected the hour of code activities up on the screen, and as a class, we all coded together. And it was like, okay, where do you guys think the next part should go and stuff like that. So we just found a way to make it work back in the day without a lot of equipment. But it was that was me. After that, I started taking classes. I had to I had to do something. I'm like, okay, I need to know more about this. I had to level up, exactly. So I took some classes, took some university classes toward my computer science credential, supplementary credential for educators. So I have gained some more knowledge through that too.
Okay. Do you ever miss going to school, working at the school?
Well. Not in the capacity that I originally was.
Okay.
No, I knew I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get to a point where you want to do something that has a bigger impact. So that's part of why I moved into robotics. But I'm at schools every week anyway, but I get to go for robotics.
There you
so
go.
we get to be the fun, popular thing,
Yeah.
that the kids
They
are
love to
looking
see you
forward to
coming.
all week.
Right, yeah.
So we get all the smiles and, all the good attitude and all of that. So I like it.
So yeah, can you tell us about some of the programs, events, and initiatives that you have going on in the community?
Sure. So we have SYS. We call it the SoLa Youth Showdown, and it's our homegrown citywide robotics competition.
Oh, wow.
So that's probably our biggest event throughout the year. We're going to have students from 13 schools across LA come together. They're going to compete. I always tell people our robotics tournament turns up. It's not going to be like the ones that you've seen before.
Yeah.
We do it in our own way. We have our DJ. It's a lot of fun, and the kids are going to have a great time. Our other big event that we do annually is called SoLaCon, and we just had our first annual one about 2 months ago.
Okay.
And this is our annual STEM conference. So this is a chance for not only the students who are engaged in our programs, but our parents to become engaged. I think it's really important for parents to have a lot of engagement with their kids. Half the time the buy-in is about the parents more so than it is the kids. And if you can get both, then that way you can make sure, they're showing up to class, they're engaged, they're looking forward to it, and they want to move on in STEM or robotics or whatever they decide to do. So we got SoLa Youth Showdown, we got SoLaCon, and then beyond that, we have classes 7 days a week. So we've got after-school classes that are open to the public and Saturday and Sunday classes that are open to the public as well.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So now to our guest, Madison.
Hi.
Hey. So what is your role on the team, and how long have you been part of the SoLa Robotics team?
So I've taken a lot of roles when it comes to sort of like SoLa Robotics. I've tried at least at least all of her classes at least once. From when it comes to like Mbot or Dash or just block coding and JavaScript. I've done basically all the fundamentals to try and get like different pieces from different areas to collect a bunch of information. And I wouldn't say I have a specific role, but a lot of the times I drift towards mainly competition and taking a leadership role and sort of planning out
Very
what
good.
happens. And it's sort of, I work well with people, I'd like to say. I work well with bringing people together and helping people share and effectively communicate ideas and bring it to life. I'm more of a sort of leadership person. I'm a foundation. I like to be
You're the
cool
glue,
stuff.
right? Yeah, they need you to hold everybody
Need the
together
glue.
because there's multiple roles on the robotics team, and that's what's exciting about doing robotics, right? Because you got the programmer, you got the builders, right?
Yes.
They have all the mechanical acumen, right? Then you have to have the marketing team, right? So somebody got to come up with some great ideas, and how do we let everybody know about us? And then you have the project manager, like somebody who's going to keep everybody coordinated, keep everyone together, make sure things are on time, especially at the competition, right?
Yeah,
you guys got to have a schedule. Like, what's that experience been like for you leading the team?
Well, the last competition I did, was really my first competition fully with like SoLa Robotics, and I had a lot of fun. But I will say the team was a bit younger than I was, so it was difficult. Younger kids are, bless their heart, but they're a lot to manage. But this new team that I'm working with, first day I showed up, I sort of took charge. But But I'm usually the one that people like to look up to because I'm the one who always looks like she knows what she's doing in a way. It's I have a lot of fun with it, especially keeping everyone from tearing each other apart or not listening to one another's ideas. I just keep everyone effectively communicating and making sure everyone gets heard and that everyone's ideas are thought through. And I especially like to maximize things. Like with this new, like with the SoLa Showdown. And did you talk about the machine yet? With the new board that we're doing?
I didn't. Tell us about the new game.
Okay.
This
So the
year's
new
game
machine,
is called The Machine.
The game's called The Machine. It's essentially this. You have a bunch of objectives that you have to do in like, was it 1 round?
You guys are going to get 4 rounds total.
4 rounds total, but
Yes.
you get to do a bunch of objectives in any order. You get to decide how many objectives it is. And the thing that I maximized with it was we found out that essentially every single time you went to the start of sort of where the map is, like the center, you get an extra 25 points. And I was like, okay, we gotta figure out how to maximize this. Every single time that we hit an objective, bam, we're gonna go back to the center, get an extra 25 points. We're gonna stack this. And I'm usually the one who asks the most bizarre questions. I'm like, okay, do we have to fully stop in the center, or can we just hit and keep going to sort of maximize time? And like, oh, is there do we get bonus points for how fast we complete it? It's just sort of like finding loopholes and extra information around things to sort of maximize and fully get the true potential when it comes to competition.
Excellent. You've done a phenomenal job. So you're a member of the SoLa Robotics team. What drew you to apply to be part of the team, and how much have you enjoyed it?
I like STEM. I love engineering. My skill set is all over the place, and so my thing is sort of, I just like collecting information to use in different areas, because people don't realize it, but robotics and STEM and engineering, because of the way our world is now, it's expanding to every single field. Especially like I'm more interested with architecture than everything else that I've done so far. But I know the fundamentals of like engineering and like 3D modeling, 3D printing, all this other stuff that I've learned. There's this one thing that's like, you take a picture of a landscape and you can use it and it uploads into a whole 3D model. Like that could be useful for architecture, for sort of like fully scoping out areas. I know that every single piece that I'm learning can be pulled into other areas. And the other question was,
how have you enjoyed being part of the team?
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I just like working with other people. I like putting things together, and I especially like competing and sort of seeing how other people are doing things, so that when the next time I come back, I can use that information and put it to good use.
Yeah, and the things that you mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of careers there. I mean, we talked about engineering, project management, data analytics, right? All roles that make a lot of money and have careers, advanced careers into. Has being part of the SoLa Robotics team helped you navigate what you want to do with your future?
Oh, definitely. I'd say STEM and engineering definitely got me into, I will say it got me more into sort of seeing, sort of embarrassing, but it's helped me see video games in a different light, because I spend most of my time online, right? And so robotics has helped me to see these things that I do from a different light and helped me to use it in different areas, because I actually got into architecture because of a video game. I got into architecture because of Minecraft, and after I sort of did robotics, I was like, wait, I can take this and I can see it as an entirely different career. And before that, I was like, oh, maybe I want to do software engineering. Maybe I want to make the games that I'm playing and seeing now. So it's definitely guided me. My career choices have been all over the place, but
and that's okay.
It's really just fun to sort of go out and do a bunch of these other things and try and take information and pieces from each thing you've tried and bring it into like a full career.
All right, very good. Now that's excellent. So of all the things that you learned, what has been your favorite?
What's been my favorite? That's a tough one. I've done a lot of stuff. I've done stuff with drones. That was really fun, especially ducking and covering whenever something went wrong, thinking you're gonna get hit with a drone. But I did have fun when it came to like JavaScript, and I'd say block coding is definitely a more simple introduction when it comes to coding. It's not as like big blocks of text on the iStore. It's not an eyesore, essentially. I have a lot of fun with block coding because, you can sort of relax, and I'm like, oh, if something goes wrong, it doesn't destroy the entire block of text you make. You can just make one simple edit, and you can just pull out that block and put in a different piece. But JavaScript I had fun with too, because it's like, oh, I'm doing more complicated stuff. Ooh, I feel smarter putting all these big numbers in this. It's just a lot of fun. The coding fundamentals are definitely one of my favorite parts, even if I don't do it all the time.
I understood. Great. And so for Jen, have you seen an elevation in the behaviors or the skill sets of the students that come through your programs? Such as if they come in at one level, what has the growth been like? You know, has it been better focus, skill sets for programming and such? Can you share some things about the advancement the kids have made?
Absolutely. So we always try to take some kind of survey on, you know, well, how much do you know? How interested are you in this type of instruction? What are some things you might want to do? And so those results that we ask them again at the end, and there's always just a profound difference. And then just seeing how the kids are interacting in the class, there's always some surprises that pop up. It's like, oh, I didn't know she was going to come with that. You know, we have a lot of moments like that. So, and then just like what Madison was sharing right now, we're doing the robotics. We need to talk about the photogrammetry class
Yes,
too.
the photogrammetry
Yes.
class.
When
That's
you
exactly
said
what was going
architecture
on.
and the room, and I'm going, are you in that class? We'll talk about it later.
No, because
we do that too.
Yeah, no photogrammetry.
Yes, it's on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock.
Why did no one tell me this?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But just like Madison was sharing, even though there's all these cool experiences, she's built robots. You know, she's been to competition. She's worked with other kids. But the coding is like the kind of the foundation and the thing that she really, really enjoys. And she figured out, I can build stuff with it. I forgot you were like our Minecraft expert.
That was over the Minecraft
pandemic.
class. I was the one everyone was asking.
Yeah, we did
I
a
was
lot
like,
of online
I can do
stuff.
this and this and this.
Right.
Yeah, because I forgot to answer your question. But I've been with SoLa Robotics for what, 5, 6
A
years?
long time.
I was
like since the beginning,
yeah,
basically.
no, I was
Very cool.
pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic.
Right in 2019 when we were still in that tea house.
Yes.
And then I still was with you guys when it came to online
And
classes.
that's where the
That's
Minecraft
awesome.
came in, because we had to do stuff, you know, over Zoom.
Right.
So
Yeah, no,
we,
I'm like,
we
I
did
know how to
ship
do this.
robots to kids' homes, and we did program with them online. But we also brought in Minecraft. We had like some chess games and just trying to figure out, you know, how to engage kids online in the beginning. But she was able to take that and then figure out her love for architecture. That, to me, that speaks volumes on, you know, what kind of growth can kids get out of a program like this. A perfect example right here.
Hi.
Excellent. I love it. So I know, you know, I've done things in the communities, like, and have you seen it where kids, like, grades have gone up because they're part of such a program? Like, oftentimes, you know, we might have young, underserved students who feel like, you know, the whole purpose of the BlerdOut movement is that how do we get ourselves and see ourselves in spaces like this? Like, robotics doesn't seem cool, right? That doesn't seem cool. Like, you know, I had one kid quit my robotics team because he thought his friends were going to laugh at him. Like, have you guys had those experiences? And can you kind of share with our audience, like, what's that like?
I have way too many stories like that to share in the amount of time that we have. But there's one. It was our first robotics team, first ever. It wasn't even SoLa Robotics yet, but it was the first time that I was able to take a team to competition. It was not just the school, the whole community was involved with it. Everybody came out. It was a great experience. We were the only black and brown team in the room. That's a whole different story. But we fixed that the next year.
Okay.
But this one kid, he was a bully.
Oh.
He was a bully, okay? The first time I met him, I was like, "What, is everything okay?" Just an angry face. And he was put into the robotics club at the time to kind of give him some motivation to you know, be more positive at school and whatever issues were happening. So he's in the club and he's working fine with the kids or whatever. We go to competition. We did the whole thing. It was great. Never had any issues with him in the club or anything like that. Maybe the other kids were scared. I don't know. But they all worked together though. It was fine. It was a good environment for him to be in. So he gets selected to give a graduation speech. And I don't know anything about this. And so he's up there speaking, And he thanks me and some other people who were involved in his being on this STEM path now. And he said, I never knew what it was like to be a part of a team. I never knew what it was like to have people look up to me as a leader. And it was life-changing for him. Yeah. And then he goes on to say, there's a lot of people in my family who've made bad decisions, and I realized I don't want to go that path. I don't want to be like them. And I was sitting in the audience like, look, whoa. It was, there was a lot of tears going on that day, but just a really profound statement from a young student who just, he felt a pivot in his life because he was on a team for like 3 months toward the end of a school year, and it made just this tremendous difference for him. And so that was one of the earliest times where I said, okay, I already knew this was a game changer. I knew we were going to be changing the trajectory of some students' lives, but to have him get up in front of an audience and express all of that was just, it was out of this world.
I love it, and that's why we do what we do.
Yes.
So Madison, we brought a robot here with us today. You guys brought a robot.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
we did.
that's the robot that we're using for competition with the machine.
Okay.
Actually.
Can you quickly tell our audience a little bit about the robot?
You want to hold it?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Okay, you gotta hold that ultrasonic sensor some kind of way.
Oh, we didn't.
It's not connected. Yeah, we'll do that in class next week.
You're putting us to work. That's crazy.
Always.
So this is one of the robots that we're doing for, this is the robot that we're using for our competition. And essentially it's got the base of the average like sort of in-block robot with more advanced parts because number one, I've never seen this sonic sensor before. That's new. But the main component that we're really looking at is this claw. There's a lot of grabbing and picking up functions when it comes to the machine and some of the objectives. Like there's this one where you have two magnets and you essentially have to put them together. And so the claw is using this to sort of push them together. I actually made, I was the one who plotted what we were going to do for the, most of the objectives. So I know a bit about the claw.
Good.
The hydraulics, it's got hydraulics for this to open and close it, a bunch of other pieces to sort of, it's a collapsible claw. So I think that's pretty cool, especially because it's a smaller sort of window of opportunity to like run into stuff. In block, this one only has 2 wheels. I just noticed that. So it's definitely
it's got the
ball bearings
ball,
on
yeah.
there?
Yes.
Remember the old one had the mini wheel in the middle, but this one has the 2.
Oh, this is a
on the
new
front.
edition. Oh, we're fancy.
Yes,
Okay, I didn't even.
You guys got upgraded.
Okay, we out here balling.
That's why you haven't seen that sensor before. It's like the other one. It's just
not as
it's
like
sturdier.
metal looking. Hold on.
She's like, let me check this out. Hold up.
Got the protection over the sensor themselves.
Right.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I haven't seen this one before. It's cool. All bearings for wheels. Let me look at that.
So that's very exciting. Thank you for sharing that with us. So one question I have for you, Madison, is that mentorship, right? So now you've been with the team, you said about 5 years now, pre-pandemic. You've been mentored, and then now you're serving as a mentor to other new mentees that are on the team. Like, you say kinda?
Kinda. I wouldn't say.
I would say so. You took the reins. You explained that
follow
very
your
well.
lead, right? They listen to you, right?
Honestly, that's fair.
What a mentor does, right?
I guess I see myself when someone says mentor, I just see someone with more experience. I'm more of a to sort of differentiate between the definitions here. I see myself more as a leader than a mentor because I wouldn't say that I don't have enough information to fully teach someone, like Miss Jen and our instructors do, but I do have enough to take the information that we're given, fundamentally break it down so that other people can sort of understand it, or if they need help, or if they just want to get an idea across. I'm just like putting it together for my team if they need any further clarification. But if you gave me a curriculum and a bunch of kids, it would be chaos. I would not know what I'm doing.
I wouldn't do that to you.
No, so I
got that.
Yeah, I'm not a mentor. I'd say I could be on the road to one if I want to take that path. I feel like if I spent more time sort of learning and spent more time into learning how to teach other people, I could become a mentor. But like I said, I'm comfortable in my position as more of a leader type, and I'm having fun with it. So
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things where you just haven't seen it yet because the result hasn't happened yet. But I see you as a mentor because you're the coach of the team. You're the student coach, right? You're the leader. They see you as the leader. But you may not notice it until someone else becomes behind you and they want to now be the coach because of what you did. So maybe it's not through your voice, but through your actions that you're mentoring them on what is the value and the view of what a coach looks like. Right. What does the project manager look like? How do you coordinate and keep everything in order? Right. One day you'll hear the kids say, they have something to say, what would Madison do? Right. Because they have followed your lead. You have then mentored them as well as led them. Right. So, very good. So, so now let's talk about what's the future of SoLa Robotics look like. Now, there's a lot of organizations that you said you're in 9 locations? Mm-hmm. Okay, 9 locations. Is there a plan to grow those locations, and how do people across the city learn more about what you're doing and everything like that?
Yes, so there's always a plan to expand to more locations all the time. We're talking to different schools, more community centers about how we can get in there. Ultimately, my goal is to get as many students from all these locations to our citywide annual tournament. So this year, I know we're going to have over 100 kids participate. One day that'll be 500, 1,000, just growing every year. And it's really, I don't want them to just participate in robotics. I want them to have a culminating experience. I want them to say, I spent 6 months in this robotics program, and I got to go to this amazing competition, and look what I accomplished, and look what my team and I were able to do. And to me, it's more than just taking a class or finishing the class. I want you to be like, once you join SoLa Robotics, now you in it. You're part of the SoLa Robotics family. You got to come to the competition, got to come to SoLaCon. You have to do all the things. So I would like to grow that, and I would like for what's happening in LA right now to be a model for other cities and for other communities. We're also looking at going digital. Mm-hmm. So developing a train the trainer program so that we can, right now we're a staff of 8, so there's only so many hours in a week. I'm sure we have over 30 classes a week going on right now across those 9 locations. Okay. So we can only do so much. But if we could put together a program where we're training people who are ready to take this on at their campus, along with our mentorship and our guidance, that would be the next step in expansion as well. And people can find out more about us at southlarobotics.com or solarobotics.com.
Okay, excellent. And Madison.
Hi.
Tell me about, yay. I just felt like it was the right.
It was the right time, don't worry.
For you, tell me about the most memorable moment you've had while being on the SoLa Robotics team. And let it be a moment that's, if you were to draw kids into want to be part of the team, what moment would you share with them?
Most memorable moment. Okay, that's hard because I've got a handful. I gotta think about that. Okay, hold on. Okay, one of my most memorable moments I'd say was definitely when we got invited to the science fair a while ago, and you called me up and was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, we're gonna be interviewed by KT." And I was like, "What?"
Yes,
and
live.
And I got called up. I'd say definitely. SoLa can lead you to a bunch of different opportunities. Like I got interviewed with KTLA, and I thought maybe interviewing in journalism would be kind of fun. And so the longer you stay with SoLa, I definitely say the more opportunities to do a bunch of other stuff that you get. And of course, just learning all the fundamentals of robotics in general can do that. I just say it brings more opportunities, and I definitely had a lot of fun sort of talking to Miss Gale, so that was cool.
And what grade are you in?
That's a good question. 7th?
I'm sorry.
7th? I don't keep track with this.
Okay.
7th. Yes.
Right, and
Individualized education.
And I know you said your thoughts are all over the place on what you've learned. Like, do you see yourself becoming an engineer 4 or 5 years down the road?
That depends, because I have a lot of stuff on my plate. I have a lot of stuff that I'm interested in: marine biology, environmental sciences, architecture, robotics, software engineering. I do know stuff that I probably wouldn't do, but
Okay.
engineering might be on the list of stuff that I'd say if I got the chance to do something in engineering, like if I was offered something, so like I don't know, if I got good enough to teach a class or something, I wouldn't decline. But as a full-time career, I'm not entirely sure. So I'd stamp a maybe on that. But right now I'm looking more to sort of combining environmental sciences with STEM and engineering and architecture. Because like there's already a bunch of projects with engineers and architecture, especially when it comes to like building portable moon bases and for different planets for astronauts. I went to an online conference for that. That was really cool. It had a bunch of stuff with robotics and hydraulics in there too. I was like, oh my God, I did some of that. And I just say I can pull into a bunch of different areas, so I don't know where I'll end up, but it'll probably be somewhere in STEM.
Okay. Like, do you see yourself as a Blerd, and what has it been like for you to be involved in a program like this, and how have friends treated you? How have they viewed you being part of this? Because oftentimes you have kids who get involved with things that relate to technology, and they look at it like, that's silly, or you're a nerd, that's geeky. Like, have you experienced any of that, and what has that been like for you, and how have you overcome those kind of viewpoints?
I'm going to be real with you. I'm
Please do.
homeschooled. So most of my friends come from other STEM programs, or they're online. So either they think STEM's cool already, or they're like, oh yeah, STEM, that's cool. You're developing what you already know, and so I haven't gotten any sort of like weird looks or comments when I say that, oh, I'm interested in STEM. So I feel bad for anyone who has, because I think STEM's a wonderful sort of experience, and it's a wonderful career to get into, especially because you can go into so many other things just by learning with engineering and robotics. But personally, I haven't experienced that at all.
That's great. It's true that there has been, young boys and girls across the nation, black and brown young boys and girls, who've actually suffered from being bullied because they were intelligent, right? And believe it or not, that's how those were some of the discussions around the whole BlerdOut movement from the very start, is that why is our intelligence not enough to be seen as cool or, okay, right? Why is it being looked down upon? So I'm really proud of you and how you've, you're so confident and you're okay with showing how intelligent you are and speaking to it and having your voice. What would you say to somebody who's struggling or possibly being bullied right now? How would you get them on your team and make them feel comfortable?
I would say STEM's going to make you successful anyway. So sometime down the road, their comments aren't even going to matter anymore. Yeah. You should really be focusing on the bigger step and the bigger picture rather than the small details, because this like sort of section of your life where you're getting bullied or pushed around for your interests isn't going to last very long. Like, especially if you're in high school or middle school or just any sort of area where it's just a schooling area where all you're thinking about is education, what am I going to do further down the line? Those comments aren't really going to matter anymore, because you'll probably forget about it by the time that you know who you want to be and what you're doing in life, and you're not going to go back and look at that and be like, I wish I'd listened to them or whatever. You especially shouldn't feel like if they ended up pushing you out of robotics, you don't want to look back on that and wish that you continued. So I'd say follow your heart, follow your dreams, take whatever information and knowledge that you get from whatever classes you take, and use it in whatever career you end up choosing.
I like that. Very good. Mm-hmm. Very good. Share with our audience, how can we get more involved with the SoLa Robotics team and get engaged, especially for our parents?
Yes. So definitely visiting our website. We also open up a lot of volunteer opportunities for people to be involved in these events that we're putting on throughout the year. So for example, this year our competition, which is happening on May 19th, we're looking to recruit over 75 volunteers. We have a really big production that we're putting on. So, and it's also just a really fun experience for people. For students and college students, we also have an internship program, so they can come in, learn about what we're doing, assist with the classes, assist with competitions and things like that. We also have a lot of connections to other organizations. Mm-hmm. So our students, it's like we're part of a pipeline. So we've got kids who are, like Madison said, she was invited to do this live interview with Gail Anderson on KTLA 5. Coming up, we have an activation that we're doing with Lego, which also involves some filming. Just a lot of stuff. We connect kids with organizations that give scholarships for college. Most of it comes through the community connections that people learn about once they're involved with us. The tech centers that we have classes at, it's not just robotics, they can learn graphic design, 3D modeling. We also teach 3D modeling and photogrammetry.
Yeah, no.
But it really like opens up a big old door of just a lot of possibilities. So I would say initially, contact us, come visit a class, come visit a tech center, sign up to volunteer, ask us about maybe coming to your organization or your school. We do pop-up demos and things like that just to kind of let people know what's going on, spread the word. And we also advertise a lot of our community things that we're at. For example, tomorrow we're going to be at the LA Coliseum for YMCA Healthy Families Day. So maybe just come out and talk to us at our booth, and that's kind of how the process starts for a lot of people.
All right, very good. You guys heard it here first. Make sure you're at the event on May 19th, and make sure you support SoLa Robotics. And I too want to offer that for the students that you might have that want to go into robotics or drones or AI, let me know. I'd love to help that dream come true. What I do is I mentor kids from underserved communities who want to get into the robotics industry, since I'm a pathway to robotics as a career. So that'd be great. It sounds like you got a lot of great students that are excited about this. So you're living the dream, and there's so many other teachers out there that just wish they could make the leap that you have. So hopefully this encourages them to say, hey, I want to do more. I want to make a bigger impact, and we're so glad that you're doing it.
Thank you.
And Madison, thank you for sharing with us today. You're so mature and doing great things already as a leader and mentor to the younger kids who are coming behind you, because they're paying attention, they're watching, right? And one of them is thinking, I want to be just like Madison. Like I said, you might not see it right now. Just wait and see. Give it a couple more years, and then say, I'm the new Madison of the team, right?
Yeah.
You'll be in high school by then, right? And hopefully still working with SoLa Robotics, right?
Most likely,
Yes.
Right. Well, we'll close. Thank you,
Thank
both of you,
you.
SoLa Robotics, for coming to the show today. And that's our show. Make sure you guys tune in to the next episode of BlerdOut. Make sure you follow the SoLa Robotics team. You guys on social media?
We are. Look at South LA Robotics on Instagram. We're on Facebook. There's a TikTok out there somewhere. Yes, we're at South LA Robotics. This is South LA Robotics. Look that up. You'll find us.
Excellent. We're looking to grow this team. If you're South LA Robotics is coming to a neighborhood near you, make sure you join them. Make sure you support the events. Make sure you volunteer. Corporations and grants. Make sure you support the movement that's going on here with SoLa Robotics. And that's our show for today. And we'll see you next time.
Confidence, it really shouldn't be no arguments, 'cause you're now viewing the greatest of all time.